What's happening? This is Leroy Downs. Welcome to another session of the Just Jazz Cafe. As you know, we talk to some of the most incredible musicians and singers and poets and everybody that's got a little artistic flair. Today with me, someone who opened up 2018 at Just Jazz and sold the place out, man. I'm telling you, this girl knows how to do it. Her name is Miss Somi. Hey, Somi, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, good to see
Nice
you.
to see you.
Yes, what's happening there in New York City?
Pardon?
Yeah, what's happening there in New York City?
Well, I'm not in New York currently. I've been holding it down in Illinois through the pandemic.
Oh,
Yeah. So my childhood home, hanging with my mom,
yeah,
so it's been cool, but very different
no
from
doubt, no
the
doubt.
normal rhythm.
Very important to connect, with those that we love and family during this time. You actually, even during the pandemic time, have so much going on. I want to hear about this new Grammy-nominated album you have coming
Well,
out.
it's not Grammy nominated yet. Well,
But it will be.
but we can put it out into the thing, into
Put
the
it out
ether.
there.
Thank you. Thank you for that. If I'm so lucky. But no, it's for consideration right now. And I'm thrilled because it wasn't an album I expected to put out. It was really an offering meant to be just sort of a way to stay connected to the thing that makes me feel most alive. It's a live album. So in a way, to listen to the recording, I just happened to have it. It was for a radio broadcast in Germany last year, and then to be able to reflect at a distance on the thing that I'm usually so connected to and usually makes me feel most alive was really a gift. And being able to offer that to audiences and use it as a way to raise funds for social, racial justice organization like Black Heart Futures Fund. It's been really a way to keep me encouraged, and I just only hope that it encourages others. And so, yes, it is being considered, or for your consideration, as they say.
Well, it's for our consideration for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about what it's like being in the center of the sound of a big band. I mean, it's got to be so thrilling to have all of the power of that sound surrounded around you.
It was really thrilling because I'd never done a set of my own music with a big band orchestra, and the opportunity to work with somebody as accomplished and brilliant and generous as John Beasley was really so much fun and just such a delight, and it's funny that it ended up being a recording because the whole time I remember in rehearsals, I'd be like, oh my God, I love this so much. Like, I just love the warmth, the brightness, there's so many colors inside of brass that it was really quite thrilling. And it was just beautiful because it's still an orchestral sound, right? So it was wonderful. I felt lifted, if there's a word that I can say. I felt lifted, and I felt surrounded by voices, which is a very, it's a wonderful feeling. It's as though singing with a choir, but it's different color, different tonality, and different, I felt as though I was surrounded by so many voices because they're also of air, as is the human voice. So that was really joyous to rethink the music in that way and take that journey with them and John, and also two of my band members, Sam and Toro Dodo.
Toro, yes. Well, Toro, when he came here, of course, he's searching around for anything that says Dodo on it. So, we took him to get a photograph. He's a cool cat. But yeah, I'd love to know how that happened. I mean, here, John Beasley, one of our beautiful musicians here in Los Angeles, Chicago/New York, and Toto, is he in Japan or is he in New York?
Toto is based in New York. So he's been in my band. We've been collaborators for many years now. So he, and also the guitarist Sam. Hervé is actually based in Paris. From Senegal, but the three of us were already doing a run in Europe with some other band members. But I was able to bring two of my band members to this big band orchestra who also has their own pianist and own guitarist, but they were kind enough to let me have some of my people in the mix.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Um, so no, he's in New York, Hervé is in Paris, and John is in LA, and as you know, I'm usually in Harlem in New York. Uh, so it really was, you know, honestly, again, my agent in Europe was like, there's a big band who wants to have you as a guest. They occasionally have a couple of guests each season. I think they have 4 or 5 guests every season, and so they had invited me to come and perform for, you know, 2 nights, and for a radio broadcast, as it is the Frankfurt Radio Big Band. They have a radio that actually supports them, which is an amazing thing to think about as an artist, to just be like, there's an institution that just helps you get the music out in that way, like in a way that's like immediate connection to the masses. Is pretty incredible beyond like a recording. So we did that, and John and I met up in New York and just started, you know, talking about the music then, and continuing to talk. And we had talked about collaborating before. There was a time he had invited me to perform with Monkestra, who also has a brand new recording out this year, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it sure does, John.
For people's consideration.
Sure.
So we had started to talk at the time about that, and we just couldn't make dates work. So it was just really fortuitous that the timing worked out. The big band artistic director was super excited about the idea of John Beasley, and we made it happen. I will say it was like hectic because we also had just done International Jazz Day in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And the travel was insane. Like, I finished some shows in Europe, got on a flight, went there for like literally 24 hours in Australia, and then we flew back, and then jumped into rehearsals, and then the show 2 days later. It was hectic, but it was worth it, because here we are.
That's the superstar lifestyle. You know, that's what it is. That's what it's good for, right?
It was definitely a whirlwind, you know. The air quality on the flight isn't that great for the voice, but you know, it was thrilling, and it was just wonderful to have those different opportunities. These are good problems, right? So, and here we are having a conversation about it and reflecting on it, and able to look at it as an archive. So I feel good.
I mean, you know, here we are. It's so much to reflect on. I mean, you know, yes, you're there with Mom. It's COVID time, but also at this time, you know, we're experiencing a lot of trauma. I mean, it's not even at this time we're experiencing it. Really, throughout our lives, we're experiencing all this trauma because of beauty and color. And you know, I know you travel the world, and I just want to know how those type of things, you know, with all this racial disparity, is affecting you, because artists are the ones that are the most affected by these things, and it comes out through your writings and the music. I mean, tell me how you're feeling. I know you get a chance to spend some extra time with Mom, which is great, but you know, the surrounding circumstances to be, you know, in the middle of this, you know, and especially with these knuckleheads the other night doing I don't know if you, I want to tell everybody in the world who's watching this that is not in America, I apologize. I really do, you know, I mean, because that was pretty embarrassing.
It was pretty embarrassing. That was totally wild. I don't even know how else to describe that debate, if you can call it a debate. It was just noise. I watched it. I suffered through. You know, what am I did. I watched it. It's one of those things I just could, it was like, I don't know, I couldn't look away, but it was also just crazy. How am I maintaining as an artist? I mean, it's day by day. You know, I can talk to you today and connect, and something about even just seeing you and having a conversation about work and life and artistry and what it is to be, you know, in this world, is, it feels like, you know, you're touching this other kind of life that we had pre-COVID, right? There's something about it that takes you back to that and feels very normal, right? But it's not easy, you know, and I think that I try to remind myself when I start feeling stressed out, because there's this sense of like a hamster wheel, where you're just kind of like, I think I'm working, I think I'm doing things. I'm like all day, I've got like a list of like all the things I'm going to do for the day, all the things I'm trying to accomplish this month, all the, personally, professionally. And then you're just like, wait, what's actually happening? So in a way, even like with the record, it gave me something to say, this is a tangible thing that I'm actually doing, So I think it's really important to give yourself, not only a schedule, but like tasks of like, but not feel pressured by the productivity Olympics, which are also a thing right now. Like, what did you do in quarantine? Like, what did you write a book? Did you like write the concerto? Like, what is it? So, there is that kind of pushes up, especially when people are self-driven, and have their own things and are used to kind of like having to show up. We're used to working from home and working on like for ourselves, right? And so there's this constant kind of drive, like, what's next? What am I doing? But I think the main thing is to extend everybody around you grace, because the reality is there's so much happening. The pandemic, like the number of people who are personally affected by it, either sick themselves or know somebody who's sick themselves, or just feeling afraid, uncertain because of lack of leadership. When is it going to be over? And then all of the other things coupled by seeing Black people shot in the street, and then like that goes viral, seeing the injustice that happens, people not being held accountable, seeing that, again, lack of leadership, right? I mean, there's so many things. Having to consider the election, having the, integrity of democracy be undermined every day. Like, there's just so many things that are, on you. Exactly.
A lot of weight.
That's a lot of weight. And so what can we do but if we, extend each other grace through that, and extend ourselves grace, like be gentle with ourselves. Like, if you need to take a nap and lie down, do that.
I can't take a nap. I feel way too guilty. You're right. I wish I can extend myself.
Don't feel guilty at all. Like, my friend follows an Instagram account called the Nap Ministry. Every time I seem a little stressed out, she'll send me like one of their posts. And then it's like, actually, it's just about like allowing ourselves to rest, to recenter, to, it's not just about lying down, but there's something very simple about taking a moment to just be still and like let it all like,
yeah, as artists, we need to take those moments, because that's how we I don't want to say regurgitate, but that's how we transform these thoughts and these feelings that we get. We only get them at a peaceful time. We're running 50 miles an hour. They're not sinking in. But as soon as you slow down, I mean, that's the time.
Exactly. But also, Leroy, like, how are you feeling guilty about taking a nap in the middle of a pandemic and all the things?
I haven't done it yet.
Be gentle with yourself.
I'm going to try to do that. I feel a responsibility as someone who has a venue, as someone who is a supporter of artists and music, that if I lay down on the job, I'm like, it's not about me. It's like, hey, I got to get on the radio. I got to make sure everybody's music is played. And I got to make sure that jazz for myself overall is being put out there constantly. I mean, I feel that responsibility. So I want to talk to the artists. I want to play the music. And I know everybody's going through so many things, but I just let everybody know that this music, these artists like yourself, we can help heal the world, a little bit at a time. And so that's why it's important to hear from people like you, and especially you, because people may or may not know. I mean, you're like so much more than just an artist and a vocalist. You're an artist really in the biggest way. And I like to talk about some of your other endeavors, maybe stretching out from singing to the stage. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So before, the pandemic and this live album, Holy Room, I haven't even said the name of the album, Holy Room.
Holy room, y'all.
Before that, I mean, like everybody else, I had other plans. I have been writing a play about the great Miriam Makeba. I wrote a play about the great Miriam Makeba that I've been developing for the last, it's been now 5 years that it took to get to the point of really putting it on its feet. And I'm super proud of it. And it's the heaviest lift, I think, as an artist, but it also is the fullest representation of, I think, my voice as a singer, as a writer, as a performer, as somebody who's greatly influenced by and thankful for the legacy of Miriam Makeba. So it's a play about her. It takes place on the last night of her life. It's called Dreaming Zenzile. Zenzile means you have done it to yourself, which is actually her first name in her mother tongue, Xhosa. So, and in real life, she died on the last night, her last performance. She walked off the stage, she finished the show, walked off the stage, had a heart attack in the wings, and they pronounced her dead 2 hours later. So it takes place on that night. And yeah, it takes us on this journey of, what is your personal agency? What do we do to ourselves, right? So it's about her agency in life and in death, and she was, as you probably know, not only an incredible artist, but an incredible activist, and sort of single-handedly brought global attention to or more attention, I should say, to the global anti-apartheid movement. So we're all indebted to her. I believe all African artists are indebted to her, no matter their discipline, genre, medium, like everybody. She was the first. So that was the plan. The play was set to, we were deep into rehearsals for the opening production, and 5 days before the opening night, COVID shut us down. Crazy.
Well, at least your artists have more time to study their lines now, because
oh no, they're wonderful. They're incredible. All of the actors, musicians, they're incredible. So we were in a good place. So,
nothing ever.
Pardon?
So we know it's not going to stop us. It's just going to slow us down.
Right. So we're now, like, everything shifts a year later. So, but it was a big pivot. And the thing is, I can't get even caught up in that because everybody has had to pivot, everyone. So I think knowing there's some sort of strange comfort in we're all in it,
Yeah, I mean, and this is true. We're all in it. We think about ourselves, but I think about myself, but I also think about all these others. And, a lot of us are doing okay, but some people have to play like they're doing okay. I mean, this thing, really, it affects you financially as well, on top of all the things that we have already mentioned. And so, I just want to put some love out there to anybody who
absolutely
does not have some sunshine, who doesn't have a smile on their face. Just let you know that, man, we love you. This music loves you. And whatever we can do to provide some sort of uplift for the world, we have to do,
Listen, I'm receiving those words and that blessing, because I have my days where I'm like, what is happening? And I'm kind of being lighthearted, but it's up and down, right? So, and I also think it's important to speak that and to acknowledge it, and come back to, it's a pandemic. Let me give myself grace and be gentle and take a nap if I want to.
I'm gonna learn from that right there. I'm next time I'm so stressed because I feel like I really got to get it done. I'm gonna remember the grace that, what, I have to. Someone has to tell me. So you told me that I can actually take a nap whenever I need to just get back to myself. I needed permission, so thank you.
Yeah, but also a nap is like the metaphor for whatever it is. Like, take a nap, take a walk,
get a coffee,
write a poem, sit in the garden, like whatever it is that's just going to let you step outside of that particular moment that feels overwhelming and get back into heart, and spirit and rest, Anyway, I need to take my own advice.
I need to take it too. So thank you so much. We had such a great time when you were out here in Los Angeles. The Just Jazz series, is something that I curate and was we're just getting off the ground. We started in 2017 and came back strong with your performance in 2018, and it was really, really fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Such a special night, such a special space. The audience is so beautiful, and it just always reminds me of how I just need to spend more time in LA, because every time I come, I love it so much.
Well,
So, like,
spending more time in LA, I think we're trying to make your way out here a little bit. We welcome you with open arms when you come.
thank you. Thank you.
And hopefully we get a chance to keep you. Yeah, no doubt. It's what would this life be without artists, expression, music? I mean, I think people take this music and the art, and I think they take it for granted. So I always would wish upon these people that take these things for granted that they have one day with no music, no art, no color. Just live that day and wonder what that's like. I know you think you could just turn the radio on and get your music. What if it wasn't there? You could just turn your television on and get some entertainment. What if it wasn't there?
Yeah.
People really need to understand the power, especially with jazz, And for you, I mean, I say the word jazz, but you actually cover multiple genres of music. So tell me how it feels or what you think about the sound that you emanate.
What do I think about the sound that I'm making? You
Yeah,
said?
in terms of
I think that, jazz. I know that that's why I kind of smiled when you said it, and I actually love that you said, well, I know that there are other things in what I do, because I'm a songwriter and I'm influenced by jazz, but I'm influenced by so many other things, so much African music, so much of my own personal heritage as an East African, as a first generation American, as a Rwandan / Ugandan, Harlemite,
right.
Westerner, hyphenated being, basically, right? So I think that kind of like leaning into that in between, that hyphenated space is not only like what the music is, but it's actually what my life has always been, right? So I think that's why it's like jazz, and as opposed to just saying I live here in this particular space, which is totally fine if that's what one does, but it's not what I do. Right, because it would just feel like a part of me, and I think like any artist, you want to show up with your full self, and it just happens that my full self is in multiple places all the time, or representing multiple places. So I would say, the music it's jazz, but it's also soulful or soul music. It's also alternative. I listen to a lot of what they call alternative rock, but I don't know if people hear that in the music or not. But I like nerd out to all kinds of alternative music. And also, I grew up playing the cello. Like, really, I grew up as a classical music nerd, and I love that, sort of the winding nature of that music. So I think that I try to have that. I think that shows up in the music in some ways. And as I said, I'm an Africanist, I'm a Pan-Africanist. So I think that I'm always trying to articulate that sense of home, of heritage, of Blackness, of global view and cosmopolitanism.
Right. Well, being first-born American, tell me what it's like to actually go back and spend a great amount of time in Africa. I mean, what do you notice between the two? I mean, here you are, your parents are from Africa, you're born here, but then you go back to Africa. Do you experience things that they experience? Is it your own experience taking all these things in that you've heard about, or how did you connect?
Well, I think what ends up always happening is there's this kind of like, where's the line between implicit cultural information and explicit cultural information and knowledge? And I think that what is implicit to my parents being born and raised in East Africa becomes explicit to me because I mostly came of age in the United States, right? And so, but then there are certain things that, because I grew up in an African household, you know, it's still implicit for me. So I think there's always this trying to define, like there's this line. I remember I had this conversation with my brother one time about, like, you know, I was talking about the sound I was trying to get to. This was many years ago, and I said, you know, I'm just trying to get to this sound where you can hear all of those things, and, like, you know, where you can like resolve the tension of that between, of the hyphen, you know, so it's just like somebody can hear and be like, oh, I know exactly where all the places that she's from. And he was like, well, maybe it's not about resolving it, right? Maybe it's about standing in the tension, like standing and leaning into that and surrendering to it. And I think what that does, it gives me the freedom to kind of privilege all the different parts of myself. And if there are these happy moments and happy accidents, which is usually the case, where those things all become one, like where they kind of find each other, then fantastic. Then I'm thrilled. But I think it's that search for that space to stand in. That is what that music is about, that tension of, like, I'm not from here, but I'm from here in between, and, like, but kind of reaching and leaving and reaching and return and you know, and response, and, like, all of that is, like, constantly at play, or at least I hope it is, you know. And so I don't know, what is it to grow up, you know, first generation? It's a whole world is what it is, you know. It's a whole world. It's a lot of explaining to, like, you know, small college town, East Central Illinois, mostly, like, folks who are not from where I'm from or don't look like what I, you know, and it's like a very different kind of social environment, you know, kind of always, you become a cultural chameleon, if you will, because you step into your house and you're expected to be, like, in African tradition and African culture. And then you step outside and suddenly you're, like, just a regular, like, teenager in a Midwestern high school, you know? And so you compartmentalize. And I think, so a lot of my work as an artist has been about undoing those compartments and allowing them to fall into each other, you know, without stress, without too much stress.
It's the collage that makes the beautiful pastiche that is, you know. It's all these different parts of your life. It's like a blank canvas with all these different parts of the picture coming together, and it's all you know. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for spending some time with us right here on the Just Jazz Cafe. Somi, you know, you do so much for the world, and we're all behind you, you know. And remember, this album is not Grammy nominated yet, but, you know.
Thank you. I will receive the blessing of that, and I you know, thank you so much. Thank you. That's really generous. Thank you, Leroy. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. Another evening right here on the Just Jazz Cafe with the wonderful Somi. Thanks, dog. We appreciate you. There's only a few people in the music that can go with one name. There's Herbie. There's
oh my God.
There's Miles. There's Freddie. Somi. Reedy. You know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're great company, dog.
Thank you.
All right, you take care, and we'll be in touch soon.
Too.
And we'll see you when you come to Los Angeles, and we're gonna make you one of ours.
Thank you. Take a nap.
All right,
thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.